Guys! That shit was dramatically different! Yo! Oh, okay. I was not expecting there to be this much to go over with the Eminence in Shadow finale. First things first, guys. They added so much stuff. Actually. Changed things around. And a movie? Oh, man. A movie, huh? I don't know how I feel about that. Y'all know how I feel about the recent movie trends. I've made that pretty clear. I don't know how I like that. And I'm gonna tell you now, some really bad news I feel like is gonna happen because of this now. Especially with how this ended the season. I don't think we're gonna get another season. I don't think we're getting another season of Eminence in Shadow, honestly. I'm not sure. I don't think we are, to be honest. Because you can tell at the end of this season. You can tell in the final scenes. When they're going through season 1 and 2. You can tell they recorded or made both of them back to back. They made both seasons back to back. So to me, that feels like they're going to end it. Especially if they're going into a movie for the next arc. That could have been an amazing, half of a season. The next arc could have actually been, an entire half of a season. They could have done that. With how the show's paced. This next arc with Akane, by the way, coming back. Yeah, I knew about that, baby. Of course I knew about that. With her coming back and going back to Earth. That's right, that's Earth. That could have been an entire, half of a season right there. But they're making it into a movie instead. We'll get into it. We'll get into that. There's a lot to get into. They changed a lot. Beta's not there! No, Beta better be there. She better be there in the movie, man. I'll actually will really dislike that if Beta's not there anymore. But we'll get into it. Let's get into the episode first. Then we'll talk about our news. Okay, I lied. One more thing before we get into the episode. I just thought about. It makes complete sense why they started season 1 with the Akane stuff now. I completely get it now. I have a good idea of how they're going to frame this now. And that scene, which a lot of people are like, oh, that's so random. Why? Why even include that if that's not going to be a part? It makes sense now. Trust me. We'll get into it after the episode. Our episode begins with just pure chaos. Ragnarok has descended upon the Oriana Kingdom, and it is just destroying everything. I'll tell you guys now, I don't even think the Seven Shadows, together maybe they could, but the Seven Shadows could not beat Ragnarok. He's actually that big of a threat. The only person that could take this man out is Shadow, as we'll see in a bit. We see Ragnarok spewing its spawns everywhere, as we see that Shadow Garden, who was in disguise at the wedding, moves into action to take it down and try to protect the city as much as they can. As Shadow tells Rose, go with them. There are things you must accomplish, are there not? And it's here his showdown with Ragnarok begins. And it's here we see that Mordred, oh, that sweet summer child Mordred, actually ends up getting jumped by Beta and Epsilon here. They legit jumped this man, by the way. As we see that Mordred's got a pretty cool sword, man. He can do invisible sword strikes on people, which is a deadly thing. But I love how these two just start roasting him. Like, oh, your sword? That's elvish. It ain't yours. Your armor? That ain't yours either. What are you, a coward? You can't fight us with your own strength? You gotta use these artifacts? That shit had me dying. Mordred is heated. He's like, I'm not fake. You're fake. Look at your titties. And it's here Mordred quickly realizes he ain't ready for a 2-on-1 against 2 of the Seven Shadows. No way. And as we transition to Rose here, she's trying desperately to go around the kingdom saving who she can. Because the kingdom's fucked. Like, it's destroyed. People are dying. It's bad. Thankfully, finally, she's got Shadow Garden to help her call the ones that are in the city for her. Real quickly, I do want to give a shout out to this scene with Margaret, actually. Because I never mentioned this in my other episodes, but Margaret has a hatred for Rose. She's hated her since she decided to take up the sword years ago. Because she doesn't see her as a fit ruler. She sees her as a fool. Someone who brings shame upon this artsy nation. And I want to give a shout out to Margaret finally waking the fuck up and realizing, no, Rose is probably the best leader this kingdom could possibly have, as she finally accepts her as queen. And this is a really nice scene for Rose, honestly. That the people are finally starting to understand her, and that she only wants the best for them. I like that scene, so shout out to that. And it's here as we see Rose giving orders to everyone in the capital, trying to keep everyone safe. They ask her directly, like, are you sure we can trust these people right now that are helping us? And I like Rose's answer here. She tells them, if we've proven our worth to them, then they just might. I'm sure we can convince them to help by spilling our own blood and fighting for ourselves. I like that a lot. And it's here in typical comedic fashion. Who comes falling from the sky? Literally Mordred, and he's fucked up. Who'd have thought fighting 2 7 shadows at once would be a bad idea? As Beta and Epsilon even tell him that, like, why would you engage us when it's 2-on-1, dumbass? Why would you do that? As Mordred's like, it's not over, I have Ragnarok. He's the greatest power ever recorded in this world. I can take down the likes of you in an instant. As these two literally tell him, essentially, bet. Let's see it happen then. But then add, before that though, we're going to get some info out of you. And it's here. We're going to go over some actual important information for the series. Literal plot and not plot. Yo, what's going on, guys? And it's here, we will go through this scene for your guys' sake. As Mordred starts telling them, surely you have to be aware that outside of our world exists countless other worlds. We call the worlds that exist in those dimensions realms. For example, there's a world made of ice, a world made of fire, and a world made of just literal tombstones. Countless other worlds exist out there. And there's also a world inhabited by beasts that possess enormous magical powers. These various worlds that we call realms revolve around a certain single point. Even our world is a world that's orbiting that center. As they don't even understand what is at the center of the universe, but they assume it's a god. And I have a theory for this that I thought about after this episode. We'll talk about that at the end too. I have a pretty good feeling about it too. And as Mordred continues, he says, the real problem is that the worlds are going around this center. Around and around for months, for years, the worlds follow their courses. But occasionally, they collide together. And when they do, the differing worlds become connected. And the example he gives here is like shocking for the series, as he tells them, we once studied the ancient strata of our planet and discovered that before a certain point of time, magic did not exist in this world. And that point of time is when this world collided with another world. Basically saying that magic came from this other world into this one. And as a result, our world's biosphere underwent a dramatic change. So for them in this world, that's essentially what wiped out their dinosaurs. Their world was basically like Earth, man. But then when it collided, it became this world filled with magic and monsters and all that stuff. As they even say that a lot of our creatures couldn't adapt to this new environment and died out. And that allowed new creatures to thrive, the humanoids. But that in and of itself poses a question, as Mordred says. What if us humans, just like the magic and its creatures associated, came here from another world. Kind of like a certain EMINENCE did. As he continues and says, we're the only species with this much intelligence that managed to survive. Could we really, truly be inhabitants of this world? I don't know. Since ancient times, all these things and more have come into this world from other realms. But in that same vein, some things have gone out of this world into those other realms. They were spirited away. Great movie, by the way. As he even says, as an example of this, there was a place called Atlantis that went missing from this world. It just up and vanished like that. And it's here Beta asks a really important question, actually. As she says, does that mean that the demon Diablos came from one of these realms? As Mordred tells her, no, that demon's most certainly a product of our world, but its original was not. The creature that became the basis for the demon Diablos was a visitor from a realm. Basically, they infused Aurora with one of these creatures. That's how she became Diablos. And we call that world the First Realm. We gained several pieces of wisdom from that creature, and that name was one of them. As they all fully come to realize that the Black Rose is an artificial gate to another realm. As I told you guys last week. And it's here we see that years ago, when the Black Rose was first deployed and the 100,000 humans were taken out, we see that it was these creatures that came out of it and killed everything within sight, regardless of who it was affiliated with. And the cult was able to control the Oriana Kingdom because they were able to close the gate with our clicker here. As he even tells them that our compensation for doing this was blood. Royal blood. Specifically, roses. Her blood that is especially high in magic, even for royalty, was supposed to go to them when she was an infant. But the king, her father, protected her for all those years. And it's here with this said, Mordred gets kind of a second wind in him. He's ready to fight again with Ragnarok on his side. That is until pieces of Ragnarok start falling from the ground, to the ground, of course. As we see our boy Sid just absolutely eviscerates Ragnarok with John Smith's string, by the way. Oh, nice touch. And naturally, our boy Mordred's not too happy about this development, as he's like, this is the strongest being in all the dimensions! What's going on? And I just love how Epsilon and Beta are just so casual, like, yeah, he should have known if only he knew about Lord Shadow's wisdom. Sigh. And it's here, fully lost his mind. Mordred does something kind of wild. He fuses himself with remnants of Ragnarok. As we see, he becomes this hideous creature. And from this point out, I'm pretty damn sure everything is new. I don't remember Mordred transforming here. Now, this is the only thing going forward that I'm not 100% sure on could be new. I don't remember if he transforms. If he does in the light novel, I just forgot apparently, but I don't think he did. So from here on out, I'm going to assume everything's new. Once we get past this, it definitely will all be new. As Sid seeing another person resorting to other people's strength only has one thing to say. You typical defect. And it's here with a very excited audience. Their fight begins. But let's be real here. It's not so much as a fight, just Sid playing with his food. As we see our boy Sid just piecing this man up. And he literally hits him into the stratosphere. And it's here. We get a super dope scene, I'll admit. Because it's here, we just hear the far side of the heavens. The ultimate destruction raining down from a soundless world. The extreme I must surpass. Seeing this place, feeling it, I realized again what I must do. And as we see our boy preparing to do what we all love, he says, I guess you call it remembering why you started. And I owe it all to you, nameless person I've never seen before until today. So this is it. I'm done playing games. Because I want to give this everything I have. As Mordred says, "Who the hell are you?" As we just hear, "I'm atomic." As the heavens themselves explode here. As we see everyone we've met along our journey watching as the sky is quite literally exploding above them. As even Rose says, "This is too much." But as the light clears, we see an eminence cloaked in darkness is the only one standing. Who'd have thunk it? As he's like, every once in a while, it's not so bad to take the muscle-headed brute force approach, you know? Really gotta stick it to him sometimes. But it's here, as we see a tear in the sky, a black hole, if you will, open up. Things change drastically. As our boy Shadow gets sucked into it. Alone, I might add. As we see the key, the ring on Rose's finger, shatters. As we transition to Earth. Sid's Earth, where it all began. And we see for the first time in a very long time, Akane. As we come to realize the world is dramatically different than when he left. The world is post-apocalyptic. Everything has been destroyed. As we suddenly hear, there was a boy that I despised. His grades, average. His athleticism, average. His looks, very average. Absolutely nothing memorable about him. But on nights like this, looking up at the moon reminds me of that day. Of him. And I'll tell you guys now, little spoiler. She knows that Sid is the one that saved her back then. She knows that much. Or I guess Minoru, his original name. She knows he saved her back then. We see that this world is forever changed. I'll even tell you now, the monsters Mordred were talking about, was describing, came to this world and absolutely ransacked it. It is a post-apocalyptic world now. Humans on the brink of extinction. But we'll get into that more in the movie, I'm sure. And it's in this moment we get a little blast from the past, as the two men that kidnapped her in the first episode are back, and they do it again. Only this time, they're significantly more fucked up because of a certain stylish bandit slayer. And as she wakes back up, we are quite literally repeating what happened in the first episode. They've kidnapped her, but this time, there's no ransom. They just want her dead. A client wants her dead because she is the savior of this world. Again, we'll get into this in the movie. But it's here, even though things are paralleled, one thing is dramatically different. That's the fact that Minoru isn't here anymore. Shadow is. As our ceiling shatters, a ruffian gets sent flying, and we hear, "My name is Shadow. He who lurks in the shadows in order to hunt the shadows." As yet again, he saves Akane. But here, our episode and season ends. Alright, let's talk about this now. Let's talk about the movie first. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if I like it just yet. I don't know if I do. Because they dramatically changed how this goes. This is completely different. Nothing is the same so far. Him going into the portal is literally the only same thing. They've changed a lot. A lot here. For one, Beta's not here. Beta goes with him in the light novel. But she's not here. At least for now, at least. We haven't seen her, so I can only assume she's not here. And I think I understand why. because I guess it's a little spoiler for the light novel, but I gotta tell you, to explain this, is that when they go to this world and re-meet her again, for one, they meet her under completely different circumstances than in this. They really wanted to mirror season 1. That's why I think we're not getting another season, by the way. The fact that they did that. But that's a different topic. They met her again, and they pretended to be brother and sister here. But the thing is, in this arc, Beta's portrayed as someone who cannot speak. Like, her character doesn't speak. She's supposed to be mute. So maybe she's not here because they thought, well, she's not really going to be talking anyway. We don't really need her. And I guess she doesn't contribute too much to the arc. Besides having some of the funniest scenes in the arc, man. We're not going to get the email thread that they did. Bro, if we don't get that, I'm a riot. That shit was too damn funny not to have in the arc, man. No, I will not like that. Very funny, but overall, she doesn't really contribute much. So her not being here, I guess, could work, but I don't love it. Now, we really don't know anything about this movie besides the key visual that we have right here. Hopefully I remember to edit that in. So, right now, we don't even know when it's coming out. We don't know exactly everything it's going to cover, even though I assume it's just going to cover Volume 4, by the way. Because this season was almost exclusively Volume 3, besides this very little bit at the end here. Now, as I told you guys in the beginning of the video, I don't think they're going to do another season after this. I don't. It's just how they presented this. They presented this episode as like a true finale for the anime. Just with everything they did, showing all the scenes throughout our first season, and it just feels like an endpoint right here. The movie's going to be a real endpoint, but this just feels like, yeah, we're done with the anime, which I don't like, man. And here's the thing. Maybe they're doing that because we really don't have that much content left, because we're kind of caught up. But then again, I guess we do have 2 volumes, and this season only covered 1, so I guess it's like we really could do another season. As I said, this whole arc could have been half of a season in and of itself. Especially with how the show's paced, it could have been half a season, easily. So it's just a weird decision to do a movie here. That is really the nail in the coffin that makes me think that we might not get more Eminence in Shadow anime. Or at the very least, we're probably not going to get it for years after the movie. I really feel that way. Which is a fucking shame, frankly, man. Like, damn. This show's too good to stop here. It's like they don't want to make money. This is an instance I am hoping I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be. Now, for my little theory I mentioned earlier in the video, which I think is actually gonna be true. I feel pretty strongly about this. You know how Mordred says there's a center of the universe and everything circles around it? Every single thing. All the dimensions, all the universes, everything centers around this one thing. And he says, oh, it's probably a god or something there. There's been one theory that a lot of people have had with this series that I think has a lot of like evidence supporting it. Now, I'm not caught up to volume 6 or anything. So like I could be way off and be talking out my ass here. But I'm just saying, my theory, it's Sid. It's Sid in the center of the universe, and he's writing everything. That's been the theory a lot of people have had, is that the whole thing, Sid is controlling everything. With inadvertently controlling everything. Anything he wins is going to become true in these worlds. And we've seen this throughout the series, that he just stumbles upon all these situations, man. All these situations he stumbles upon, and he just, whatever he fancies ends up happening. That's the theory, is that actually is him in the center, and he's controlling everything. And he just doesn't realize it. Maybe that's why our opening this season begins with Sid just in front of a ton of screens. I don't know. I could be way off. I could be very wrong, actually, but that's a theory that a lot of people have had with this series. And that, I could actually see that being the case. Who knows? Only time will tell, but that feels like it could be true, dude. There's a lot of evidence. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Eminence in Shadow Season 2. Honestly speaking, I don't know if it was better than Season 1. I think Season 1 as a package is better than Season 2. I think they handled Season 1 better. They skipped through a lot of stuff in Season 2, which I get it. I especially get it now with the direction they seem to be going. They're going to change things, apparently. Because here's the thing. This is going to be a long video, by the way. Good Lord. Why I think they're changing things is the fact that the author themselves have come out and said that in the afterwords of the light novels, they mention this all the time, that, you know, there's little things here and there I'd want to tweak. I want to tighten things up a bit. They've literally said that themselves. So I'm thinking they're using the anime here as a way to do that, to tell the exact story, tightened up, not as loose as they want to tell. That's what I'm thinking they're going to do here. I think that's why things are different here. Because things are pretty different, actually. Beta not being here doesn't change a ton, but it does change some things. Like, some things are very clearly going to be different. So, I don't know. Maybe that's why. This is another instance of only time will tell. But again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this season, because overall, regardless, I still think it's great. Eminence in Shadow is freaking great, guys. You all know that. You don't need me to tell you that. It's freaking great. So, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it down in the comments. If we don't get more, it's going to be sad as hell, but it was a hell of a ride regardless. Y'all know I'm doing the movie on the channel when it comes out. We're doing it, baby. We're sitting and talking about it, especially if it's changed. Oh, we're here. We're here day one. The second I can see it, it's getting a video. So let me know your thoughts on this down below. And until next time, guys, I hope you all have a great day, week, month, and year. Until then, deuces, have a blessed day. We'll get back on our journey through the season tomorrow. Today, I had to give full attention to Eminence in Shadow. So until then, I'll see you guys later. Deuces.